It is a great honor, pleasure for me to be here with you in person and introduce our next award and the honoree. The Principal Award recognizes individuals who are dedicated to encouraging the value of responsible leadership, strategic innovation, and international cooperation. I'm honored to present this year's Principal Award to Ray Dalio. Mr. Dalio is such a business celebrity that I don't think I need to go into details about his achievements and contributions. What I'm going to talk about is his two cylinder characters, which I believe make him the best person to get this award. Firstly, Ray is conversant with things past and present. He's very good at looking at the world from a historical perspective through the lens of development. By doing so, he's always able to draw lessons from both successes and failures in order to better resolve problems in the present and in the future. Secondly, he has a whole world in his mind. He's not only a far-sighted business leader, but also a social activist with a global perspective. A charitable person who is concerned about the well-being of people. He actively takes social responsibility and contributes to public welfare. In particular, he likes sharing his experiences with others in order to help them achieve their goals. This is well exemplified in his book, The Principles, which offers a clear, straightforward approach to decision-making that everyone can apply. With these unique characters, Ray has had a foresight to see China's development from a historical perspective. For more than 35 years, Ray has been visiting and studying China's markets through management and consulting projects. His timely perspectives on China have made incredible contributions to the better understanding between the Chinese and American people. Moreover, he is deeply involved in China's social development through his expertise, philanthropy, and education. As Ambassador Qinggang just said in his speech, Ray's understanding about China and China-US relations have given us great inspiration and confidence. And as Ray once said, there are things that make Americans American, and there are things that make Chinese Chinese. But we can approach a win-win relationship by seeing each other through each other's eyes and not expecting others to be like us in all respects. This is truly a sober view and one of the fundamental principles for growing China-US relationship. We need more people like Ray. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Ray with the Principal Award.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chairman Chu, Governor Hochul, Ambassador Huang, Mayor Adams, Ambassador Chin, Evan Greenberg, all of you. I'm so glad that we together share the love of China and the United States and great relations and celebrate it here today. I, like most of you, care a lot about China and the US and the quality of the Chinese-American relations. We each have our own reasons for caring. In my case, it's because of my experiences in both China and the United States. You see, I was born in 1949 as an American when the United States was on top of the world, having just won World War II, and I lived the American dream of having equal opportunity and great freedom to be creative and make revolutionary improvements to prosper. That year that I was born, 1949, was also the year that the People's Republic of China was born. But I didn't know China until 1984, which was soon after Deng Xiaoping came to power and began his open door and reform policies. I was invited by CITIC to teach them about the world financial markets. Up until then, my image of China was of millions of Chinese waving little red books with Mao at the head of the leadership. I went to China because I was curious. That brought me in contact with the Chinese people and the Chinese culture, which prompted me to keep going and to become deeply involved for the last 38 years. I didn't go for the money because China was poor and underdeveloped. For example, I would give $10 calculators to high-ranking officials who thought they were miracle devices. Today, China, in quantum computing and AI and other technologies, is cutting edge with the United States. I kept going because it thrilled me to work with Chinese friends to help. For example, I helped some Chinese friends who were collectively known as the Security Exchange Executive Council to build the first stock market in China. That organization operated out of a dingy hotel room because they didn't have hardly any money, but they had a dream to build a stock market in China, and they built out that dream, and I had the pleasure to be part of that. I brought my family to China many times, and they also fell in love with the Chinese people. So much so that I sent my 11-year-old son to go to an all-Chinese school, he was the only foreigner, in Beijing, and to live with a wonderful Chinese woman and her husband. He lived a very basic life, like most Chinese then. For example, in his apartment, he had hot water only 2 days a week, and he and other students had to wear coats in school until late November because the heat wasn't turned on until then because it was too expensive. But he felt the warmth of the teachers and the Chinese students. That led him to also want to help, which led him to set up a foundation to help Chinese special needs orphans. Of course, the whole experience was also thrilling because of how fast China was improving. Since I started to go to China, per capita income has increased by 26 times. The poverty rate fell from 88% to less than 1%, and the life expectancy increased by 10 years. And in a country that size, that's an incredible miracle, and it was a thrill to be involved with. Over most of these years, most everyone believed that the United States and China had a win-win relationship. You know what's happened since. It breaks my heart and it worries me to see the deterioration in relations between the United States and China and the lack of understandings that exist. I'm especially disappointed about how some in the media encourage conflicts and misunderstandings. For example, it's now difficult to say anything good about China without being portrayed as being anti-US. That's crazy. Of course, there are fundamental differences in how Americans and Chinese do things, and there are important things that they typically dislike about each other's approaches. And of course, each will follow the approaches that they believe will produce the best results in the global competitions that are underway. These will either be peaceful competitions that produce advances for mankind, or they will be destructive wars that will threaten the existence of mankind. Many of the people in this room tonight, like me, have close relationships with both countries. We are all faced with the choice of speaking up about the need for peaceful approaches and mutual understandings, or staying quiet and avoiding the criticisms that will inevitably come from speaking up to help mutual understandings. I hope that you will join me in speaking up to help mutual understandings and improve relationships between our two countries, because you are all here for that purpose and you all understand, and that can help us have a better future. So thank you very much for this very great honor to be able to receive, and I'm so grateful for the relationship and for all of you being here in support of that. Thank you.